Well, we've had a chance to think about the trends that we're experiencing that are coming together in this interesting confluence. We've talked about some of the consequences and some of the things we need to be concerned about as a society, but let's talk about things that you can do personally, yourselves, for your careers, for yourselves personally, that will help you navigate your way through this interesting time that we're in. To begin with, as I mentioned some time back, cybersecurity is professionalizing. I'd like you to think about that a minute, because when we think about the other professions, medicine, law, what are others? Teaching, librarians are professionals. When they go through their schooling process, they are prepared for professional careers where they bear responsibilities that go above and beyond your standard job. Certainly a doctor would have grave responsibilities for the health and welfare of his patients or her patients. And so there has grown up in these different professions characteristics of what makes a career field a profession, and I see cybersecurity moving in that direction. You can see that the responsibilities for managing networks, for being on top of what's going on networks, has far-reaching potential consequences, and so you want to be sure that the people that are in positions of authority regarding networks, installed networks, you're going to want to be sure that those people have the judgment, the maturity, the preparedness to be able to manage effectively and safely for society and for others individually. And so what does professionalization look like? Well, to begin with, it certainly does mean that there are opportunities. So let's look at your responses personally to what we've described as conditions, trends in cybersecurity. What are you going to do personally? From a career perspective, there are opportunities available to you that are profound. I'm very fond of saying that cybersecurity has 0% unemployment. In fact, if you read online various studies that have been done around the world, you see that cybersecurity is one of those career fields that has tens of thousands of open jobs for people. Now, how do you get there? Well, you need to prepare. One of your first steps is getting an introduction like you're doing through this particular course, and then figuring out, and we're going to talk to you about how to do this, where to go following this course to add to your knowledge base. But there are also other things that you can do. To protect yourselves personally and your families, I would direct you to the FTC's website that gives, and a link is provided with this module, that gives you information about how to stay safe and secure online. But let's go back to talking about you and your career. I would direct you to a website associated with NIST.gov that gives you another framework. Not a framework for how to manage cybersecurity, but a framework for how to think about cybersecurity jobs, those 31 different pathways. You get online and you'll be able to find pathways listed with this particular framework, and you'll be able to see the knowledge, skills, and abilities associated with each career pathway. And I would really recommend that you give consideration to a gap analysis of yourself, comparing yourself to what's needed for that particular career pathway, and determine how you're going to fill in those blanks going forward. We're going to get into this in more depth later on in the course. But I also want you to consider what professionalism is going to look like for the field itself. And there's a number of things that are happening that are coming together, and I think in the next few years you're going to be seeing the launch of a profession. Every profession has educational standards. That's why we bring standards into the programs that we teach here at UW through the Center of Information Assurance and Cybersecurity. So educational standards characterize a profession. Further, there are codes of ethics and behavioral responsibilities that are also tied to professions. And we've seen various entities in our profession, in our field, begin to develop those ethical constructs and codes of behavior. Further, there's licensure issues and certifications. Now, we do have certifications available in cybersecurity, but the question is being asked at some of the higher levels, just what are the values of those certifications and how do you measure what somebody has in their heads? So that problem is out there. It's being tackled by a number of committees here in the United States that are thinking this through. I think the issue of licensure becomes challenging because how do you indemnify somebody for taking responsibility of a network when some of the software components are not indemnified by the producers? So those kinds of issues need to be thought through. But again, all of these things are trending, and I'm preparing you for this because as you think about the potential of a career in cybersecurity, you need to be aware that the field is growing, it's maturing very fast, and that it's moving in the direction of professionalization. And you want to be very thoughtful about the education you pursue and how you prepare yourself for what's coming. In fact, you need to be signed on to continuous learning. So again, the things that you can do to prepare yourself, you can evaluate your nice career pathways, you can do a gap analysis, you can adopt a continuous learning strategy. I'd be developing my readings online. What are you going to look at every day? You need to be tuned into the emerging trends and staying on top of the field as it changes and moves. You want to add to your credentials, and I would encourage any of you to join professional organizations. There are ISSA chapters all over the world, ISACA chapters. The first is about network professionals coming together. The second is about audit professionals. Cloud Security Alliance has chapters all around the world. And the HoneyNet Project has chapters all over the world. So there are these organizations out there that you can find locally, that you can join, that you can develop linkages to, a network. You can go to meetings, you can learn outside of the classroom, outside of this organized learning experience that you're going through with us. There's ways you can take charge of your career and open yourself up for an incredible opportunity in cybersecurity.